Today, we're going to break down a very short but honestly a really profound little story. It's kind of part joke, part parable, and it's all about one of the biggest questions humanity has ever asked. Okay, let's just jump right in. So the stage is set, and it's a scene we all kind of know. A kid asks a simple question, but the answers they get, well, they pretty much crack their world in half. And that's where our story really gets going. So let's call this Act 1. It all kicks off with that universal curiosity that every kid has. You know, a question that seems so simple on the surface, but turns out to be anything but. And there it is, the question that lights the fuse. A child asks their father, how were people born? It's so innocent, right? Just a genuine search for a basic truth about where we all come from. And the dad, he's got an answer ready to go. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. The kids search for just one solid answer. It quickly becomes a crash course in two of the world's biggest and totally opposite origin stories. The father gives him a very clear, straightforward story. It's rooted in a religious worldview, Adam and Eve and so on. To the child, this is perfect. It's a simple answer that makes sense, case closed. Or so he thinks. But yeah, not quite. You know how kids are. He needs to double-check his facts. So he takes the exact same huge question to his mother, expecting to hear the same thing. After all, he trusts them both to tell him how the world works. And bam, just like that, his mother gives him a completely different answer, a scientific one. The kid's simple, unified world, it just shatters. He now has two competing, totally incompatible truths from the two most important people in his life. And here you see it side by side. This massive society-wide debate playing out in one tiny family moment. You've got divine creation on one side and evolution on the other. But for the kid, this isn't some philosophical debate club. This is a real crisis. So, this brings us to the climax of the story. You have to remember, a child's mind isn't really built for this kind of gray area. For him, there's a right answer and a wrong answer. So when he's faced with this huge contradiction, he does the only logical thing. He goes back to confront the source. And this right here is the emotional gut punch of the story. You lied to me. It's a direct accusation. From the kid's black and white point of view, if his mom is right, then his dad must be lying. There is no middle ground. He runs back to his father, not with a question, but with a verdict. I mean, this is a perfect example of a dilemma. The kid is stuck. Either his dad is a liar or his mom is a liar. Both of those possibilities are world-breaking for him. So how in the world is the father going to respond to this? All right, let's get to the final act, the big resolution. The father is completely cornered. He's just been accused of lying about his own kid, and his response is, well, it's not what you'd expect. It's an absolute masterclass in verbal jujitsu. And there it is, the punchline. Instead of defending his story or attacking his wife's, the father just sidesteps the entire debate with this one incredibly funny line. He doesn't fix the contradiction, he just reframes it. And it's so important to understand what just happened. That answer wasn't really about how were people born. No, it was an answer to how do I get out of this argument right now? And as a tactic, it's absolutely flawless. So let's break down this genius move. It's basically a three-step process. First, he flatly denies lying, which reestablishes his authority. Second, he cleverly puts his wife's story into a separate little box, saying, sure, that can be true for her family. And third, he turns this huge family crisis into a simple joke. Look at what he accomplishes here. He completely avoids a no-win argument about science and religion. He makes sure his son still sees him as a truth-teller. The fight is just over, instantly. And he turns a moment of serious tension into a laugh. It's a strategic checkmate. And this is where you see the real brilliance of the story. It was never actually about settling the debate between evolution and creationism. It doesn't care who's right. The focus is on something way more relatable for all of us. This little family drama is basically a miniature version of our entire world. We are constantly running into people we love, respect, or just have to work with, who believe things that are fundamentally different from what we believe. The story isn't telling us what to do, but it's holding up a mirror to the way we handle these situations. And so, this little joke leaves us all with a pretty big question, doesn't it? When you're faced with conflicting, deeply held beliefs, what's your move? Do you argue? Do you try to find some common ground? Or do you, like the father, find a clever way to sidestep the conflict and just move on? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.